of the Contractors' Secret Weapon weekly podcast with your hosts, Dave Negri. This program is dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, roof cleaners, and business owners in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over the competition. This program supplies you with information that the competition doesn't even know exists. This session brought to you by ContractorsSecretWeapon.com.
Hey, this is Dave Negri with Contractors' Secret Weapon today, and I have with me today Josh Lattimer, and Josh has been on with us before, and I really love having Josh on because he's really passionate about his business. And today we're going to talk to Josh about the huge convention, because Josh has been asked to be one of the keynote speakers at the huge convention in August. This is going to run August 11th to the 13th in Gaylord Marriott. I guess that's in Maryland, isn't it? And so, Josh, I just want to say thanks for being willing to stop by and give us a little bit tidbits about what you might talk about. Maybe might spill some of the beans on what you're going to talk about at the huge convention.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Dave. I'm happy to go into that.
Absolutely. So, but before we start, one of the things we're going to do at the end of this podcast, you need to listen all the way through, is we're going to start a contest. We're going to tell you how to get involved in the contest, because we're going to give away 2 separate free tickets to the huge convention, and we'll start that today as soon as the podcast goes out. So, Josh, now it's up to you.
All right. I like the pressure.
So you're coming back from Costa Rica, flying all the way in to speak at the huge convention. It must be a huge honor.
Yes, it is. I mean, I'm very excited about it. It's an honor. It's a great event. I've been to the huge convention in the past, and I've just watched the thing grow from really just a tiny little event into what it is now, and it really is huge. And it's not just big; it's a different type of event, because the whole focus of the event is the back end of your business. How do you run the business side of your company rather than just the technical side, the technician side, the pumps and the pressure cleaning and the squeegeeing and all those components are important. But, the industry has really responded well to this event, because, it's about how do you lead your team? How do you cast vision? How do you grow really quickly? How do you understand your customer acquisition costs and the legal issues of having a business? And it just goes on and on and on. And there's a ton of speakers that are going to be there that all specialize in a certain area of expertise. But the one thing it all has in common is it's about how to be the CEO of your company rather than just being a technician. And there is a major difference between those two concepts.
Oh, absolutely. And the mindset is the biggest thing I think most contractors have a challenge with.
Yep, I agree. And the title of my keynote address is The Executive Mindset. And you're right, it's all about mindset. So I'm not a big fan of, internet hype and cheesy marketing and all that stuff. And so when I say the executive mindset, and the person listening to this might have a really small company and they're skeptical about things like this, let me explain what I mean by that for a minute. Because, the way that we view ourselves as leaders in our families, as leaders in our communities, as leaders of our business, has the most profound effect on what we're able to accomplish and achieve. And if there's one thing lacking in America right now, it's leadership in general, right? So even if your company is itty bitty bitty, if it's just you are still the CEO of it right now. You're still the executive. And when you think like an executive, you deal with issues differently. So most small business owners, they're stressed out. They're not making as much money as they had hoped to, or maybe they make money this week, but then next week they have nothing. And they're going from fire to fire, putting out fires. And it's almost like they're a firefighter. And I know what that feels like, because I went through that for a lot of years myself. But when the light bulb went on for me, Dave, was when I understood that I was supposed to be the executive, the administrator of my own life, and included in that is my business. And so every little moving part inside your company, you need to look at it as if you're like the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And it might feel weird if it's just you, but when you start looking at things like that, you start making better decisions. You start making decisions in the right order. You build the foundation for your business strong, and then you can build the house on top of it. So it's these little mind shifts, and we'll be digging into all those specifics. But being an entrepreneur is a highly emotional thing. It's a highly risky thing. It is not a normal path. A lot of people think people like us are crazy for even doing this. But when you're out there hustling, if you can just understand a couple little shifts in the way that you see your business, honest to God, everything can change. Your growth can explode, and you'll have a lot more fun doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and it's not major shifts either, is it? That's usually just little tweaks.
Yeah, it can be very small things, but it starts with examining yourself. I mean, the hardest person to lead is ourself, right? And, your employees in your company, for example, they're always going to do exactly what you do, but a little bit less, And so you have to set the bar really high, Are you the first one at work in the morning and the last one to leave when you're building your business? Are you a negative when something goes wrong? Do you freak out and scream and yell and throw a fit like a 2-year-old in front of your team? Do you manage your employees, or do you inspire them? Are you invested in them? Do you know their spouse's name? Do you know their kid's name? Do you know what they want to do with their life? The best way to get what you want, Zig Ziglar said, is to help other people get what they want. And even in a little business that cleans stuff, these principles, they just work. I mean, they just work. And so part of being an executive is leadership and being inspirational and not being perfect and not being fake, but by being authentically imperfect, but with a clear vision and a clear focus. And really, the whole beginning of this process is defining your why. Why did you even start your business? What are we trying to do here? What are we doing? Because every little decision we make or don't make, every dollar we spend or don't spend, needs to point our ship towards that destination. It's critical. And there's so many things all of us could do every day in our business. There's so many distractions. There's so much white noise. Should I buy this software? Should I invest in this product? Should I hire this guy? We don't know the answers to those questions until we establish a very clear destination or a why for our business. And that is where being an executive and having an executive's mindset starts.
So the why is the most important, and I've heard it before, and you've heard it before, and probably everyone else has heard it before. But the key is to actually sit down and figure out what it is, huh?
Well, and it's not easy.
No.
People don't know. People know what they don't want, but it's hard to pinpoint what you really do want. And part of the reason it's hard is because we're so busy. We never create space for ourselves to even think. I mean, we don't think. When we do have space, we blank out and we watch sports or we collapse on the couch, but that's not really space. I mean, we have to really dig into what we want. What is our business trying to do? What size business do we want? What kind of revenue and personal income do we need? When do we want it by? Because you can't lead a company, even if it's small, if you don't have a destination. And your job as the leader is to cast the vision for that. So one example I heard is the difference between a leader and a manager is a leader is a guy that climbs the tallest tree in the forest. And he raises his hand, to his eyebrows, and he squints and he looks in the distance and he looks around, and then he screams down to the people on the ground, that's where we're going. That's where we're going. And then on the ground, there's a manager where he says, your team, you're the blue team, and you guys are the red team. You get the saws, you get the ropes. We're going to clear cut through this jungle. But if you don't have like a direction, it's just chaos. And that's why so many businesses go flat so quick. They could be very good technicians, but they just peter out because they don't have a clear destination laid out.
Right. I know. It's I had a thought, and it just ran away from me. I know what the thought was, and because you were just talking about how it's so hard to break away and make the time to actually sit down and write and figure out some of these things. And you know what? That's what events like the huge convention are for, is so that you can break away, interact with other people, free up your mind from the daily stuff so that you can sit down in your hotel room or bounce things off of some guys that you've met on Facebook or something like that, and say, well, what do you think about this, or what do you think about this? But that's where I get some of my best ideas is when I'm gone, away from everything, interacting with other people, and I don't think about my business because I'm away from it.
Yep. I mean, you have to create space. And one of the words I like to use a lot when I help other businesses is the word intentional. We have to be intentional. And with your business systems and your direction and all this stuff that stresses you out, and yes, it's hard, and yes, your thing will still break, and yes, your checking account will have no money in it, even though you did $20,000 last month. Yes, that stuff still happens, but if you're not intentional about taking care of yourself, your own mind, and the vision for your company, it's a lot harder. So being intentional means you force yourself to have specific space time every week or every 2 weeks or at a minimum once a month. I do it every day, where you just focus on thinking. Just thinking about your business. You have to just think. People don't think anymore. They just react. So every single day, Dave, I go on a motorcycle ride in Costa Rica, and I just go down dirt roads. I listen to podcasts, or I'll listen to nothing. I'll take a walk on the beach, and I just think. I have 4 kids. I have multiple companies. I don't have all the answers. I'm not a guru. I'm a kid from Flint, Michigan, who grew up with very little resources in a non-entrepreneurial family. But the one thing that I did learn through, earning my bachelor's degree in pain and my master's degree in suffering was that I do really well when I create space for myself to think clearly, because it's really easy to overreact or make a bad decision or make a bad purchase or make a bad hire when you're constantly in firefighting mode and you don't have time to think about your business. It's really, really critical that you're intentional with that. Really everything in your business, but starting by being intentional, by investing in your own mental health and giving yourself that time. Yeah,
because otherwise you'll burn yourself out, and you'll hate your business and you'll hate your employees because things aren't going the way you want, and that's not why you went into business. There you go. Why did you go into business?
Right. You can get burned out, and also you just can't see things clearly, and you don't know that you can't see them clearly. No. I talk to people every day. I talked to a guy this morning that is a member of my boot camp who I did a coaching call with, and it's when I look at his business, when we go through all the data, where are we at? What's your average ticket? What's your customer acquisition cost? What's our expenditures? Yeah. What are we trying to do? When I break it all down, I'm laying it out. I'm just going through, what's normal stuff to me, the things I do to help people every day. But sometimes it's like their eyes open. We're on Skype looking at each other, and it's like, oh my gosh, they had this epiphany that was really right in front of their face. But you can't see the obvious when you're overworked and you're stressed and everything's blurry. It's like you're stuck in the forest and you can't zoom out enough to really see the bigger picture.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to have somebody who's not a part of your business to be on your team, a mentor, coach, whatever it be, because my business, there's stuff that I will never see that other people point out to me. Now, my wife's business, I can sit back and I can see all the stuff that needs to be tweaked. And there again, they're in the weeds, like I'm in the weeds in my business. So it's, you need... you just can't do it by yourself, or else you'll go nuts.
Well, you can do it, but, don't we really want our business to serve us and our families? I mean, did we really go into business so we can be stressed out and yell at our employees and mess with broken equipment and that's not what we wanted when we started.
No.
So how do we get back on track? How do we get excited about our business again? How do we get our spouses excited about our business again? How do we build a company that we could pass to our kids or that we could exit and sell? How do you do those things? Well, it starts by leading yourself correctly, by pretending you have that 5-piece business suit on every day, even if it's just you, and making decisions from the perspective of an executive, someone who's in charge, someone who leads, who has a steady hand, someone who's an encourager and an inspirer and a coach to the people around them. You got to become that guy. You have to do that stuff, even if it's only you. And everything will start to change. You cannot imagine how much luckier you'll get if you work really hard and have the right mindset. Magical things just happen. Opportunities happen. Relationships are sparked. Your employees will come through for you. You'll not make some bad emotional decisions because you created space. All this stuff can turn around really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're in the right mindset.
That's right. That's right. And I started in a trailer park delivering pizzas, married at 20 years old. And, that's when I begun my master's in suffering and my bachelor's in pain, right?
Yeah.
So, life is hard, and, a convention won't save your life or save your marriage or change everything, but it's a really, really unique opportunity to give yourself a chance to pivot your mind back on course, to network with like-minded people, and to learn from people who've been there and done it. The people that are speaking at this, they've actually done real stuff with their business. Michael Dahlke's speaking there. He's becoming a good friend of mine. He had a business. He took it from 60,000 to over $1 million in less than 4 years.
Wow.
Right? We have another guy, Ryan Wilkins, who I think is down from Florida somewhere, maybe by you, and he does, several $1 million a year in government contracts. He's going to teach you how to do that, how to get local municipal jobs, how to do those things. You're going to have speakers like me trying to inspire and encourage you that, you can still have what you want. The dream's not dead. How to lead your team better, how to understand the low-hanging fruit in your business. What are some easy things you can change tomorrow to immediately make more money and be more profitable and to be excited again. And then everything in between, how to get local media exposure for your business, how you can get free press and have the news station do a story on you and why people need to wash their roof. All this stuff is right at your fingertips, and you're in an event with 1,000 people just like you that want to help you. It's an unbelievable thing, and there's nothing like it.
No, and like I said, everyone needs to go. And even for the guys that are listening that aren't a window cleaner or a pressure washer, if you're a carpenter, it doesn't matter. This is all business building stuff. You need it for your business.
The architecture of all these businesses are the same.
Yeah.
That's why the technical side it's important, but it's not that important. And people that are obsessed with what I call technical perfection, they're missing so much other stuff. And some people are so arrogant in how they know the PSI of the thing and the ball bearing of the thing. Who cares?
Yeah,
Who cares? I want to build a machine that produces earnings for me and my kids and their kids and their kids. I want to build businesses that I can sell and leave a legacy with. I want to build a business like my cleaning business that the last 2 years I owned it, I only worked 5 hours a week on it. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what you want, but that's what I wanted. Right. And I know a lot of other people want that too. And you can stand around and drink beer with your buddies and talk about how you're so good at, understanding which tip to use, pressure cleaning something, but that's not going to build a business for you. And your customer doesn't care about that. Now, do you need to be professionally competent? Yes. But you can do that very quickly watching YouTube and getting on the forums and maybe going to a weekend seminar once, and you'll be fine. Right. The hard part is all the stuff we're talking about. That's a much bigger side of the success equation, is understanding how to build a real business rather than just your own job.
Yeah, the technical side, you can hire somebody for that.
Yep.
I don't even know what tips I use. I just go in and say, hey, this is what I need for this, this, and this. And they go, well, no, just give me. I can bring it in to fix my machine. They go, I said, I don't want to know how to fix it. You fix it.
Yeah, I actually wrote a blog post called The Technical Perfection Deception. And it ticked a lot of people off. I got a lot of love for it, and I got some hate mail for it. No kidding, and it was funny because, I pushed some buttons. These people who take all this pride, they have this ego wrapped up in how much knowledge they have about the technical parts of their business. That's fine, I guess. What happens is I'm sick of all the thousands of companies across the United States thinking that that's the road I need to go down to be successful. I need to study more technical stuff. No, you don't. No, you don't. In my cleaning business, were we the most technically perfect cleaner in our region? No way. But how come we still got every job and we're almost twice the price? Well, that's what we can help you understand by learning things like what we teach at the huge convention is that part of it. So you can be obsessed with the technical stuff if you want, but if you want a business that becomes a machine where your customers love you, your employees love you, you can change people's lives, change your family tree, then you need to become an executive of your small company today, right now. And that needs to be where your focus is.
Well said. So I think that everyone's can see that you're kind of passionate about that, Josh.
I guess a little bit, slightly. And because I've been through it.
No,
I went down that road. I was that guy, Dave.
Yeah.
My wife couldn't buy groceries. She went to the grocery store year 2 in my business and has my baby son, in her arms and leaves $200 worth of groceries on the counter because her debit card's declined in front of all these people, and she has to leave humiliated. That happened more than once. It took a minute for me to understand this, and I didn't invent this stuff. I'm just excited to expose this stuff to a group of new people who maybe haven't had that epiphany yet, and it changes everything. And one of the happiest days of my business ever was when my second person I ever hired bought a house, and this guy had come from a bad situation. He had nothing. I mean, he was so broke, it was ridiculous. But to see him progress with our company, and as I started to become a real leader, that doesn't mean perfect, doesn't mean I know it all. It means I give a crap about them and my customers, and I lead by example, and I'm positive, and I inspire, and I invest in them, and I'm vulnerable with my team. So as I started to do that, we started to grow. We started to grow a little more, and I'm casting vision. I'm like, hey, someday you're going to do this. Someday you're going to wear a clean shirt. You're going to drive in a company truck. You're not going to have to clean anything. You're going to run the whole company. And that ended up happening. He ended up running $1 million business. But when he bought his first house, I was happier than he was because our little company changed his little family tree. Yeah, awesome. And he earned it. He did all the work. Like, I didn't do it. I'm just saying that was amazing. And it's so much funner to live your life trying to serve others in that way rather than just be prideful in your own knowledge on some technical subject matter. It's useless. It doesn't serve the world as well as what I'm talking about does.
Right. So, if anybody has, Josh is really passionate about this. He really cares. So, Josh, any parting words you want to say, like you need to be there, other than because I'm saying you need to be there. No matter who you are, listen to this. You need to be at the huge convention. Just not even just. I mean, to listen to what Josh is gonna, because you're just getting a preview of what he's saying. But there's so many other speakers that have lived it and gone through it and want to help you be better and more profitable than you are. Josh, what do you? Any last parting words? I mean, I'm getting excited about this place.
Yeah, sure. Look, we are all in the tree business. I don't care what kind of business you have. You're in the tree business, and I'm talking about your family tree, okay? If you look at my family tree, we have poverty down in Louisiana. It migrated up to Michigan, alcoholism, a little more poverty thrown in there. Not a whole lot of success. But I'll tell you, a few small decisions, and by the grace of God, me learning some of the things that I've learned and been mentored by the people I was mentored by, my family tree has changed, my friends. I mean, we grew a new branch going in the other direction, and our businesses can do that for all of us. Money is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about leading and being inspirational and being an example to your children, to your staff. That is what we're going to try to inspire you to do at the huge convention. And the last thing I'll leave you with is what I call the entrepreneur's birthright. And these are 10, 12 points that I think most entrepreneurs can relate with that I went through in my life. And I felt inspired, and I wrote these down. And at the huge convention, I'm going to actually have these on certificates that I'm going to give out to people with their name printed on it. And it's this linen thing, and it says the entrepreneur's birthright. I'm just going to read it for you. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, number 1, you have an idea, no one cares. 2, you build a plan, no one helps. 3, you take massive risk, you're alone. 4, you work and grind for years, no one sees it. 5, you fail, others expected it. 6, you continue forward, they smirk. 7, you fail again. They pity you. 8, you continue forward. They laugh. 9, you get traction. No one notices. 10, you get momentum. They think it's a fluke. 11, you start winning, and they try to align themselves with you. 12, you achieve greatness, and they say that they know you. This road is very difficult, and it's not for everybody, but if you care at all about anything that we're talking about, you have to find a way, beg, borrow, or steal, to make sure you show up to this event. If you can't afford to go to this event, that's the reason you need to be at this event. You have several months to prepare for it. There's no excuses. I hope I can meet you and shake your hand.
All right, that's awesome. Hey, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, we have a special for you, a special deal. We're giving away a couple free tickets to the huge convention, and you'll be able to get those at our website at Contractors Secret Weapon. It'll be in the show notes. But if you're driving down the road, we have a special URL for the contest. It is www.thespecialcontest.com. And again, thespecialcontest.com. Put that URL in, and it'll bring you straight to the contest page. And so we're looking forward to that. The one with the most points has an opportunity to win, and so you'll be able to share that link with your friends and Facebook and people you know that need to be there. So the more you share, the more chances you have an opportunity to win free ticket to the huge convention. And just for entering the contest, I'm going to send you an audio on how to create strategic alliances. That's actual referrals on steroids, raw and uncut. I did it at a convention last year. Never been released before. So go to contractorsecretweapon.com, click on the link, or go to thespecialcontest.com, and you can enter there. So we're looking forward to giving that away, and we also have some other stuff we're going to give away at the end of the contest too. So we're really looking forward to it. So just, again, plug it one more time, thespecialcontest.com.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Contractors Secret Weapon podcast with Dave Negri. We would love to hear your comments about this episode, so visit us online at www.contractorssecretweapon.com and let us hear your thoughts. If you are listening via iTunes, please leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive, the more other contractors will benefit from this show. Thank you, and see you next time here on the Contractors Secret Weapon podcast.